On October 30th at around 10 in the morning, we were bused to Padua, the city of lawn without grass and the saint without a name. During our visit, we discovered that the saint par excellence is Saint Anthony, and the lawn without grass is the major square, Prato della Valle. The city is picturesque, with a dense network of arcaded streets opening into large piazzas. Life in Padua revolves around its three famous squares dedicated to the fruit, herb, and the lords. Our first stop was for a bite to eat at a quaint restaurant, one of the many around the fruit square. The Palazzo della Ragione, with its great hall on the upper floor, facing the fruit square, is reputed to have the largest roof and supported by columns in Europe. The hall is 81.5 meters long, 27 meters wide, and it is 20 meters tall. The walls are covered with allegorical frescoes. The palazzo was begun in 1172 and finished in 1219. Originally, there were three roofs spanning the three chambers, but after the fire of 1420, the dividing walls were removed, forming the present great hall known as the Salone. The big wooden horse kept in Palazzo della Ragione was ordered by Annibale Capodilista in 1466. The Piazza dei Signori was Padua's center of power. Especially nice are the two palaces facing it, the Palazzo del Capitano and the Loggia della Gran Guardia, from the 16th and 15th centuries respectively. While the Venetians ruled over Padua in the Palazzo del Capitano, the Austrians ruled in the Loggia della Gran Guardia, which was the headquarters of the Austrian army. Palazzo del Capitano, built between 1599 and 1605, has a great historical value. In the 17th century, Falconetto's Arch of Triumph, commonly known as Arch of the Clock, was incorporated to its facade. The imposing structure was fitted with Italy's first clock. The face shows hours, days, months, the movements of the stars, the phases of the moon, and the zodiac. Following the fire in 1420, which made Palazzo della Ragione unusable, this small square building known as the Loggia del Gran Consiglio, with a porch below, became the seat of the city's Grand Council. Il León di San Marco stands in front of the loggia. Then on the opposite side of the Piazza dei Signori stands the Church of San Clemente. The church mentioned in documents dating back to 1190 was elevated to parish in the 14th century. The Palazzo Bo houses the antique anatomical theater of the University of Padua. The university's door, cast in bronze, sized from the enemy during the First World War, bears the names of students who died in the war. It is the work of G. Orsolini and G. Casanova, 1922-1923. Heroes' entrance in memory of the university students who died in the wars of independence and freedom between 1848 and 1945. Palinurus, a marble statue, is the last work of the sculptor Arturo Martini, 1946-47, and is dedicated to the partisan commander Primo Vicentine, a graduate of Padua University, decorated with a gold medal for his contributions to the resistance. The staircase, which leads to the rector's rooms, was designed by Gio Ponti. The frescoes on the wall, Mankind and Culture, 1941, depict the birth of humanity and the human culture. Unfortunately, I have not been able to identify this handsome building. The Pedroche Café was founded in the 18th century. It has architectural prominence because its rooms were decorated in diverse styles and arranged in an eclectic ensemble by the architect Giuseppe Giapelli. The café is famous because of its role in the 1848 riots against the Austrian Habsburg monarchy. Prato della Valle, the biggest square in Europe, was originally a Roman theatre, then reduced to a swamp, and finally restored by the Venetian procurator Andrea Memo in 1775, when it acquired the modern and monumental aspect of a big elliptical green aisle. It is surrounded by a channel adorned by a double row of statues representing famous citizens who were born in Padua or bonded to the city. Today there are 78 statues, 40 in the exterior ring and 48 statues in the inner ring, 10 less than originally planned. The Basilica of St. Justina, facing the great piazza of Prato della Valle. Unfortunately, we did not have the time to visit it. The mention of Padua immediately brings to mind the Franciscan friar Saint Anthony of Padua, who lived from 1195 to 1231. Many people assume that Saint Anthony was Italian, but he was actually Portuguese, and his name was not Anthony. His name was Fernando, and he was born in Lisbon. Fernando took the name Anthony after joining the Franciscan order. Anthony was a very effective preacher, and his sermons received great acclaim. He was canonized on May 30, 1232, less than 1 year after his death. The Basilica of St. Anthony is one of Christianity's most popular shrines. The construction of the Basilica of St. Anthony of Padua was started in 1232 and completed towards the end of the century. The exterior of the basilica is Romanesque, but the interior is purely Gothic in style. On the left, the oratory of St. George, and on the right, the little school, Titian. The Chapel of St. Anthony is a Renaissance work that was started in 1500 within the Basilica. The chapel is embellished with works from some of the greatest Venetian sculptures of the time. The tomb of St. Anthony is behind the altar of this chapel. Pilgrims walk by and place their hands on the tomb as they ask the saint in their prayers to intercede on their behalf. The relics of St. Anthony held in special containers sealed by the Vatican include his larynx and his tongue. Then it was time for coffee and sweets. On Piazza Antenor stands Antenor's ciborium-shaped tomb of very ancient Christian origin, as it was built in 1274 when Paduans thought they had found the remains of their city's founder, Antenor. The tomb bears an epigraph written in Latin by Paduan judge Lovato dei Lovati. This sepulchre, excavated from marble, contains the body of the noble Antenor, who left his country, guided the Eneti and Trojans, banished the Eugenians, and founded Padua. Recent analysis of the tomb has revealed that the person buried there is actually a warrior who died between the 3rd and 4th centuries AD. The tomb of Judge Lovato, a man of letters who wrote in Latin, is next to Antenor's. It is believed that Dante Alighieri, Italy's famous poet, once stayed in this house in 1306. And so it is known as Dante's house. The Porta Altinate was stormed and destroyed by crusaders fighting against Ezzelino the Romano in 1256. It was rebuilt in 1286. Sculptures inside this impressive gate. The Church of the Eremitani, or Church of the Hermits, is an Augustinian church of the 13th century and dedicated to the saints Philip and James. It is, however, best known as degli Eremitani, from the annexed old monastery, which now houses the Municipal Art Gallery. Remnants of Padua's Roman amphitheater wall. The Scrovegni Chapel, also known as the Arena Chapel, contains a fresco cycle by Giotto, completed about 1305. The chapel is also known as the Arena Chapel because it was built on land purchased by Enrico Scrovegni that abutted the site of a Roman arena. One of the most gripping paintings in the chapel is Giotto's portrayal of the kiss of Judas, the moment of betrayal that represents the first step on Jesus' road to the crucifixion. Then it was back to the hotel for a good night's rest.